This episode of the Young Turks is brought to you by WestHost, offering premium web hosting since 1998. Benjamin Netanyahu is the Prime Minister of Israel. He went to the United States Congress and was greeted like a king, a hero, a savior. He got bigger applause than our president. He got much bigger applause than he would in his own country in Israel. In Israel, they can make a decision between the right wing and the left wing, and some are on one side, some are on the other, some are in the middle. But here in the United States of America, there apparently is no distinction. It doesn't matter if the Prime Minister of Israel is left-wing or right-wing. It doesn't matter if our senators and congressmen are right-wing, left-wing, liberal, Democrat, Republican, conservative. It does not matter. The one and only thing that is a fact in American politics today is that no matter who is the Prime Minister of Israel, they will be greeted as the second coming. And today he got raucous applause. Well, I'm going to show it to you. And then I'm going to come back and tell you some of the things he said that were, in my opinion, disastrous and what some top Palestinian officials have called a declaration of war. And this is how he was greeted by the United States Congress. Let's watch.
2 years ago, I publicly committed to a solution of two states for two peoples, a Palestinian state alongside a Jewish state. I'm willing to make painful compromises to achieve this historic peace. As the leader of Israel, it's my responsibility to lead my people to peace. Now, this is not easy for me. It's not easy, because I recognize that in a genuine peace, we'll be required to give up parts of the ancestral Jewish homeland. And you have to understand this. In Judea and Samaria, the Jewish people are not foreign occupiers. We're not the British in India. We're not the Belgians in the Congo. This is the land of our forefathers, the land of Israel, to which Abraham brought the idea of one God, where David set out to confront Goliath, and where Isaiah saw a vision of eternal peace. No distortion of history. And boy, am I reading a lot of distortions of history lately, old and new. No distortion of history could deny the 4,000-year-old bond between the Jewish people and the Jewish land.
Now, in the beginning, he says some things that seemed hopeful. I was hopeful when I heard it. He wants two states, which is what other Israeli prime ministers have said in the past, what Netanyahu has said. Great, fantastic. He said he's willing to make painful compromises. That's what you need for peace. And then he dashed all hopes for peace. Jews are not occupiers in Judea and Samaria. That is, of course, the ancient way of referring to the West Bank. So meaning we are not the occupiers, it is our land. And as you just heard at the end there, saying it is Jewish land. It is historically Jewish land. By history, of course, he means 2,000, 2,500 years ago, with the mythological characters of Solomon, David, Isaiah, and whatever else that people like to make up. Those are characters that are in a particular religious text. I understand it's a large one. I understand it's one that a lot of people care deeply about. But it does not speak to actual history. It is mythology. History says that when Israel was declared a state in 1948, they were a tiny percentage of the people that it occupied all of Israel, about 6%, let alone the West Bank. They were almost, they had a very small presence, let's put it that way. So you can tell me, oh yeah, we didn't live there in 1948. But we lived there, theoretically, we think, according to Noah and Adam and Eve and Isaiah and David and whatever else somebody wrote in a book 2,000 or much longer ago, 2,500 years ago. We lived there at some point, we think. Well, all right. Before 1918, the Turks ruled Judea and Samaria. That's much, much earlier. Should the Turks go back and take it? It was our land. It was our land. Well, based on that, you know what we're going to have? We're going to have perpetual war, where people keep going back saying, well, 100 years ago it was ours, 1,000 years ago it was theirs, 2,000 years ago it was theirs. Should the Babylonians come back in? They're in Iraq. Should they demand the Holy Land? Everybody thinks it's holy, apparently, except for us, the reasonable, logical people who think that it has nothing to do with holy at all. In fact, all it's ever created was wars. But it doesn't solve the equation to say it is holy to you. It is also holy to Muslims. It is also holy to Christians. We started crusades over this piece of land. And so what did Netanyahu say after that? Well, that's the disastrous part. He said that there will be a unified Jerusalem, meaning the Arabs do not get to live, or control and govern the areas where they live. So East Jerusalem will be unified. It'll be Israeli controlled. Is that part of any reasonable peace agreement? No, who cares? We don't want a reasonable peace agreement. What we want is everything our way, otherwise war, who cares? That is what Netanyahu said today, and that is what he got a standing ovation for in the United States Congress. He continued, they will not be returning to the 1967 lines. He did not make clear how much of the occupied territory that he would like to occupy forever. Will they continue settlements? Of course they will. He said they will not be negotiating with Hamas. Ironically, Harry Reid, Steny Hoyer, Democrats, defied a Democratic president and said to say that we should do the negotiations based on 1967 lines is prejudging the negotiations. And we will not be doing that. There should be nothing ahead of time to say what should be in the negotiations. So we disagree with President Obama. They threw him under the bus, right? Those are so-called Democratic leaders, right? What is Netanyahu saying? Well, I want pre-negotiations, and I want the other side to not have their representatives there. I would like only half of their representatives there. How do you like that for pre-negotiation? And I would like them to concede the main card that they hold, not recognizing the right of Israel to exist. Look, I want that too. But for you to say, okay, you don't get to put any pre-negotiations on the table, but I demand that you pre-negotiate away everything before the negotiations begin, is absurd. And on Israel's right to exist, look, every reasonable person believes Israel should exist. It exists already. What Israel is denying is literally the Palestinians' right to exist as a country and as a state. That is not theoretical. That is not rhetorical. It is done by brute force and their military, paid for by the United States of America. And I don't care what you think Judea and Samaria were 2,500 years ago. Today, it is a brutal occupation. And there is no dispute of that, except apparently in the United States Congress, where Netanyahu come in and say anything and get a standing ovation. I cannot believe, well, of course I can believe it, but I'm still very disappointed to see it, and I'm being mild. He says that he will not allow descendants of Palestinian refugees to enter Israel. So, what do the Palestinians get? Nothing. According to Netanyahu, what do the Israelis get? Everything. And how much of the West Bank and Gaza Strip are they willing to give up? He wouldn't even say. He said, oh, it is our land. It has always been our land. We are not occupiers, even though we've got millions of people there, that we will not allow them to govern themselves. We will not let them have a democracy. We will not let them control their own borders. And by the way, if you think at the end of this peace deal, even if I get everything I want, the Palestinians are going to be self-governing, you are wrong, because Netanyahu says, at the end, I still want my military inside their borders. Just on the border, though. Well, then if they're inside the borders, then they don't control that border, then they're not really a sovereign state. And what does he get? He gets a standing ovation from the United States Congress. Now do you see why we can't have peace? Because it is largely the fault of the United States of America. Because no matter how right-wing the government of Israel is, we will stand behind it. no matter how much it occupies those people, for how many decades, and how many million people it occupies, we will stand behind it. We will not question. Our liberals will not question. Our conservatives will not question. Our Democrats and Republicans certainly will not question. All they will do is say, yes, sir. How can we please you, sir? What more can we do to help your occupation, sir? I'm afraid for Israel. I'm afraid for the Palestinians. I'm afraid for the Middle East. I'm afraid for the whole world. Because this kind of arrogance leads to stupid, terribly destructive wars. And at West Host offers web hosting for 19 cents a day. You can't get cheaper. That's
right.
ridiculous. And you could do web host transfers. Like you got a website, transfer it.
For free. You have 24/7 support.
60-day money-back guarantee. Well, then you literally can't lose. 25% off if you go to westhost.com/TYT.
You know what I think about that? I think West Host.
West Host.